Mute this. That's it.
Unmute.
All right.
The other morning is better.
No, that's actually the better of the two. Nothing keeps on coming out. Need to put it in here, it's kind of more than that, but fortunately.
It was very difficult to play sleep.
That's just gets something messed up around the outline.
What?
Something messes up. Should I check that one?
No, can't play at all.
Actually, probably just get the other one from next.
Put it down.
Record this.
Yeah. Excellent. Because you need your seventh, I think. To play these. Step out like that. You can play simple. No problem, please. All right. So I saw, since many of you, as I see here, you look like Indian stock people, kind of. Maybe from Gujarat or from Mauritius, somebody from different parts of the world. I would like to talk to you about something which most people with a Hindu background can understand. That is the simple truth of Lord Chaitanya, which makes actually all the difference. I'll give you an example. One time, I was translating Bhagavad Gita. This is 1973 in this Bhakti Gauravani Swami and Satchidananda Swami. So we were translating the whole month's Bhagavad Gita from English to German. And it was not easy because we were all young devotees. So there was one verse from Bhagavatam, I forgot the Sanskrit, At Aho Vatam something, that one who chants the holy name of Krishna. He has taken birth in all the holy rivers of India and has visited all the holy places of pilgrimage in India. So I asked Prabhupada in the morning walk, 1974 in Germany. I asked him, Srila Prabhupada, there's this verse in Bhagavad Gita. Since we are translating, we can't figure this out. It says there that one who chants the holy name of Krishna has taken birth and visited all the holy places, prepared in all the holy rivers. Does it refer to us? Does it mean, in other words, that I in my last life was in India? And Prabhupada smiled and he chuckled a little bit when I said that. It was a surprise to him. And then he said, it may be so. He said, but actually, the real truth is that I created a good fortune. It's of course beautiful to hear this from Prabhupada himself. He created a good fortune. But I thought about many years about this verse, this event, where Prabhupada said that. Here's the thing, that at the end of Kali Yuga, at the beginning of Kali Yuga, when Krishna was about to disappear from this planet, Ganga, he approached Krishna, and he said, my dear Lord, now that you're departing to the spiritual world, what is going to happen to me? All sinful karmis will displace their karmic reactions into my river, and I will die. So, Lord, please help me in this. And so he said, my dear Ganga, don't worry, there's a plan B. That plan B explained that in 4 sections. Number 1 is that this holy name of Krishna will go all over the world. That is my decision. And so we know whatever Krishna decides is coming to truth. It's just a matter of time. So that happened. Then he said, there will be widespread reading of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the planet. And we have books and people reading these books of all walks of life. And there was one boy, his name was Vladimir, is a book distributor in Russia. And I've been preaching in Russia up and down for maybe 20 years now. And so we went to one city. It is called, what's that city called? Suzdal city. And this is a very religious town. It's a place of pilgrimage for the Russian Orthodox Church. So many churches, so many monasteries, half the population at least are either priests or nuns and monks. And so then there are shop owners who sell devotion articles, etc. Something like Vrndavana. And he tried to distribute books, and everybody was saying, no, this is not our religion. We don't take these books. So finally he thought, but why did Krishna send me? It's a good question. Why would Krishna waste his time? It's after all, he's God. He knows what's going to happen. And so he said, okay, there's a last church, there's a little church. I'm going to go into this church and find somebody that buys these books. And he went into the church and it was empty. But, there was a little door halfway open, there was light coming out, and he saw there were steps leading down to the basement. walked down, there was a monk meeting, black hat, and completely dressed in black with a white, long beard, old man. And he said somebody came and put something under the table. And pushed the book under the table, this monk. And so this devotee said, Father, Christ has risen, Jesus has risen. I brought the good news for you. I have these books. He puts them on the table, and the monk started crying. And he said, you know what I'm reading? He pulled out of the bottom of his desk, he pulled Srimad Bhagavad and said, you can't go. He said, I've been reading this book for the last 5 years. And I've been praying to Jesus, I've been praying to Prabhupada, I've been praying to Krishna. Please send me somebody who has these books. And so the guy was crying, the devotee was crying, and he saw the whole set, something like 12 books, on the spot. And so it is an example that the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says in Bhagavatam, this will be a causal revolution in the life of mankind and will be completely successful. Completely successful. One time, Prabhupada met a group of my godbrother, what's his name, Mahamsa, told me. He joined ISKCON 68. He was the first educated devotee, Indian devotee. He comes from a Farsi family, Farsi, Bihar, Tatalis are Farsi people, rich people, Maharashtra, Bombay area, And so he comes from a family, he was educated in Montreal, he spoke French, he spoke English. And so he helped Prabhupada to understand the mentality of the Americans a little bit. And so he said one time in Bombay, Prabhupada was sitting in his office, and there was a group of Indian gentlemen coming well dressed, obviously well-to-do people, and they spoke to Prabhupada, Swamiji, we have to assign a successor. And Prabhupada said, I will not do that. He said, Sri Krishna has decided that. I will not. No, my Guru also didn't do that. Swamiji, if you don't do that, then the movement is 100% finished. And so Prabhupada said, you're wrong. He said, you're wrong. This is what children is movement and be 100% successful. But, he said, it will take time. But then, another instance, my godbrother, Brahmananda, he told me that one time Prabhupada painted a lotus, not this present lotus, flattish, like on the colors of the old Srimad Bhagavatam, flattish kind of lotus. Inside he painted ISKCON. This happened in New York, 1966. And Brahmananda asked Prabhupada, why do you paint ISKCON into a lotus? And he said, because that's ISKCON. He said, it's from the mud, something very beautiful will come out. Therefore it will take time. It will take lots of time. So he told us 2-3 generations easy before the Hare Krishna movement solidly takes foot on the planet. And so this is actually following the prediction of Lord Krishna to Ganga Devi. Number one, the chanting was the Hare Krishna mantra all over the world. And we have seen this all over the world. I mean, I've been now visited in 1972. And one of our worst enemies, one Father Haq, who was a Catholic priest, who was a pain in the back for us. He gave us so much trouble. So one time I saw a poster in the University of Frankfurt, Hare Krishna and Father Haq. And so I got myself a wig. It was a bald head, there was no clothes on, to go regular, sat in the first row. And so he talked about us, and he badmouthed us pretty good. And then he said, but one thing I have to say, Is there any beats here? He lifted up his beats, He said, sometimes when I'm lonely, sometimes when I'm depressed, I chant this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, and he said, it works. And so I pulled up my wig and said, Hare Krishna, Father Hare, and chanting, and you chanting Hare Krishna mantra, all the people there. Moment, I couldn't resist. I was so enthusiastic that this guy was chanting. So he found some benefit. So this, let me go back to the original story. Krishna said this will happen. The chanting will go all over the world. And we have seen the effects even animals. There's I saw one cartoon recently in an American newspaper, and there was a television set, and there was Prabhupada, and the picture was Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, talking about this movie. And there were two dogs watching it. One dog said, "Who's that?" That is Swami Prabhupada. He says, "Even dog can sing and dance." It was very cute, you know. Even dog can sing and dance. And we have examples. There was one dog on our rainbow gathering in Arizona, and there was a dog, a girl, a female dog, her name was Isabella. And her master was a boy, his name was Vaikunta, I remember him. He was kind of sympathetic with Hare Krishna, but he also was a smoking little dog, like young people do. And so whenever there was kirtan, Isabella, she broke, if he had tied us to something, she broke away and went to our place like this, and she sat down like this with everybody else in the circle. And when I sang Hare Krishna, she was quiet. And then when everybody started singing that, he went, she sang with everybody else. Then I chanted, she said it, and went back and forth and back and forth. And you see the truth, and even the dog can sing and dance in chanting Hare Krishna mantra. We had the same incident just a couple of months ago in Moscow. There was a kirtan party, and a dog came, and it jumped up and down, jumped for the whole kirtan, 20 minutes, half an hour, jumped, and woo, like this, you know. Then he fell down and died of a heart attack on the spot. It's a very auspicious way to go for a dog, you know. I mean, God knows what Krishna had in mind for her, you know. So I see that even animals can become affected, and Prabhupada said that. There was in Kansas City. What is that city in America? Kansas City. There was a Harinam group, and they were having a kirtan in front of a huge government, actually it was an army laboratory, where they had animal sacrifice. And so while they were having kirtan in front of this institution, huge building, professors came out and people with microphones, and they recorded the kirtan. A whole bunch of them, 20 people, they were all recording. And so the devotees asked him, "Why are you recording for?" He said, "Because when you started chanting, we saw on our monitors all these animals, they hooked up. We saw all the oscillating, see on their monitors, there's hundreds of animals became synchronous in their heartbeat. And so you can see the effects that it has even on plants. I mean, plants are actually, we all know they're jivas. And in our biology class, there was one lady. I was in a boarding school. It was a really, really good boarding school. The teachers were very enlightened. They were very much interested in development, character development, and stuff like that. Academics was there, but it was not exactly the main thing. Character building was the main thing. And so they had a biology class, we had a window from that side to that side, but a huge window. And this woman, her name was Mrs. Loch, I remember. She was hunchbacked. She came and she put a tomato plant there and a tomato plant there. She said, "Now we all do the same thing. We go to this plant and utter lovely and appreciating incantation, and we go to them and condemn that plant. So all that, good morning, beautiful, we love you, oh, you're so wonderful, oh, we love it." And the plant went like this, you know, like this. "You ugly beast, why are you here? We hate you, hate, like this." After 2 weeks, he was dead. She died, you know. And she just said, you see, there's somebody inside. She said, I remember that there's somebody inside. And so even plants become affected by vibrations. What to speak of the Hare Krishna mantra? So he said like this, he said, first of all, the Hare Krishna mantra will affect everybody. In Russia, I remember we were the first persons. Prabhupada came to Russia 73, and we went 70, he went 70, 1 year later, 74 it must be. So we went to the Mayapur festival, and we flew from East Germany, this Russian airline airfield, and we came to Moscow, and it was too late. The other flight has already gone for Calcutta, we changed planes. So we had to stay overnight in an intourist hospital, intourist hotel. And I called this devotee, Ananta Shanti, he's the first devotee in Russia preaching, Prabhupada's disciple. I called him up and said, you know, you should bring us a balalaika. He said, what? He said, well, I'm not. Balalaika, bring us one. What for? I said, but tomorrow we're supposed to go on Red Square. All the passengers, a whole group of tourists who didn't make the plane, we all go to Red Square. And I said, that's where we're going to go. We're going to have a kirtan in Red Square. So in the morning when we got up, everybody moved to Red Square. One big man came in and said, you cannot go. I said, why not? He said, you know why? And I understood. I said, you're from the building, you listen to the telephone conversation, right? So we were very upset. They showed us, he said, we show you Lomonosov University, this Red Square from Lomonosov University, the other side of the river, long distance. And we were frightened, we were very upset. We come to the airport. And I said, now's the time. We have 2.5 hours and sing Hare Krishna. The mantra. And one big man came and said, you must stop this immediately, this is anti-Soviet propaganda. And we said, no, we made it like this, and we sang a Russian folk song. And we Polish-ku Polish, I knew that Russian song, because of that balalaika. And so I said, we use this melody, and so we chanted Hare Krishna on this melody, this Russian melody. And one big man came and said, stop this immediately, this anti-Soviet propaganda. You know, and I said, Prabhu, I said, Tobias, this is not anti-Soviet propaganda, this is Polish to Polish Hindi. He said, Polish to Polish Hindi? He said, yes. It was the first kirtan on Russian soil. In 1972. It would not have been possible any other way. Krishna gave us intelligence to do that. And so there are many instances like this, how the Hare Krishna mantra went everywhere and has gone all over the world by now. And some places are flourishing, some places are not so much flourishing. This is how life is. Sometimes the plant grows and it descends again, and again it comes out in spring. And so by the end of the day, we can see that in Russia, I was where was it? In Mayapur last year, I met one Russian, an Indian devotee, and he said to me, you preached to me in Kanpur IIT, 1970 something, 78 or something like that. Because I used to do lectures there, IIT Kanpur, well-known IT school. And he said, now we started just 2 years ago, a new center in Bangalore. And he said, in the beginning, he said, Karnataka, was it already Karnataka? So he said, we started in the middle of COVID, and we couldn't do anything. We reached the center, nobody could visit us, so we started a very sophisticated Bhagavad Gita training course. And he said, we advertised it over the social network everywhere. And he said, to our surprise, after 3 months we had 10,000 students. He said, now after 3 years I have 880,000 students in India taking this course. Think about the dimension of that, 880,000. There isn't a single movement in India which takes so many educated, young, educated students to Krishna consciousness and Hare Krishna. It's a fact, it's enormous. Our impact in the colleges, because they completely concentrate on colleges there. And so we can see that elder, they're going to go all over the world. And what they're going to do, they're going to preach. Lord Chaitanya. And this brings me back to this thing that Krishna said to Ganga, number one, there will be chanting going all over the world. Second, Srimad Bhagavatam, read all over the world. Then he said people will eat prasadam all over the world. Prasadam becomes very popular. I was surprised today, I went into the restaurant. It was packed. You hardly could find a place. And this is going on all over the world. Prasadam, and we used to distribute on a festival and there were 5,000 plates every day, easily, even more sometimes. So prasadam was all over the world. And so in this way, number one chanting will go all over the world, second of all, Bhagavatam will go over the world, and third of all, prasadam. People will offer their food. And these three things will change humanity, Krishna says. It's right in Sanskrit, in the what is it, Brahma Vivata Purana, right there, back on. So, Satyaveva Jayate, as we all know, is the story of the Indian Republic. It will happen. It's just a matter of time. It may slow, really slow, really slow. I mean, Christianity took 300 years till it became established. This year, it took a long time. And how did it happen, actually? Christianity spread through the Jewish Vaishya communities. They were all over the Mediterranean. Jewish people, Vaishyas, like the Gujaratis of the West, practically, making money. And so the devotees historically went to them. And so they started to work together, and Christianity became huge from the 3rd century on. From there, it became a massive organization. So it takes time that this is happening. And then, so Krishna not just left it with theory or with a proposal, he came himself 4,500 years later as Lord Chaitanya. And Krishna says, as strongly I could read to you Shastra over and over verses predicting Lord Chaitanya, that he would come, that Krishna would come in this particular form to propagate the chanting of the holy name. And this brings me back to my lecture, that when the Bhagavatam was written 5,000 years ago, it brings me back to the initial start, how it started out. That I asked Prabhupada, how is it possible that did we take bath in the Ganga, or in our last life we were devotees? So, Krishna Chaitanya, before he came, the Hare Krishna mantra was there, but it was very confidential. It was a confidential mantra. The followers of Raman, Yamunacharya himself, he was, so this mantra was told him in the 15th century or something, 17th or 17th century, and he was told by his guru, don't publish this mantra, it's very confidential, it's very powerful. So he went on the roof and called the Hare Krishna mantra out for everybody. His guru was so angry with him, how can you do that? He said, well, you told us it would save everybody, so let everybody hear it. So this is a proof that it's actually the secret mantra. Now comes Lord Chaitanya, and he's a game changer in this whole thing. Because he broke open, the storehouse of love of God. The Hare Krishna mantra is distributed to everyone without discretion. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you have nothing, whether you're intelligent or dumb, you can take the Hare Krishna mantra. So in that sense, when Prabhupada said that, I've created a good fortune, there is from the very beginning of Lord Chaitanya's, Krishna's prediction, a straight line to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was a game changer. Since his time, the Hare Krishna mantra is public. And the one who really published this ultimately was Prabhupada. Because he traveled all over the world, in every town and village, and distributed the Hare Krishna mantra. He was a game changer. And so therefore this verse, as it is initially intended in Srimad Bhagavatam, is not anymore applicable in this time. Because now we have Lord Chaitanya in a different area, it becomes the mantra of Golokela Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. He said the Hare Krishna mantra comes from the Loka down into this world. to save everybody. And that brings them the question to the close that I had to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was predicted in the writings of Lord Chandra Thakur that he will be what was it? The Bhakti Seva, something I forgot. He will be the person who distributes the Hare Krishna mantra will come, who distributes the Hare Krishna mantra all over the world. It was Lord Chaitanya predicting, according to Lord Chandra Thakur. And this is actually happening. Prabhupada was predicted in many ways. If you read over as one person will come back to the Thakur world, he will bring Hare Krishna mantra all over the world. Nobody could understand it. Bhaktisiddhanta predicted there's one person of my disciples who will go all over the world. Nobody knows what he was talking about. And he looked, according to Sridhar Swami, his godmother, he looked, he made eye contact with Prabhupada and he said that. And Prabhupada took his mission to his heart. And it was not easy. I mean, Prabhupada was living he renounced his family life, became a sannyasi, and first of all, of course, they lived in Vrndavana India. He had no money. And at one stage, he was so sick, he had malaria and high fever. And he was lying on a straw mat, something like that. So you can roll together, that's all he had. And his godbrother told him that if you don't get a bed, you'll die. And he said, I will not die. He said, but I want to use every paisa for Buddhism. That dedication he had. I heard it from Nautam Gupta, was Prabhupada's first doctor in Vrndavana, he told me personally. So you see how much of spiritual Prabhupada went through, you have no idea. Because the Hare Krishna movement doesn't come from nothing. If you want to do this kind of thing, spreading God consciousness all over the world, you have to have a huge amount of piety. Because this is how Krishna actually works, It is not that we are the doers for our good fortune. We are not the doers. But at the same time, we do something that Krishna likes. And when Krishna likes what we are doing, then he will shower his blessing, his grace. And that actually brings about a wonderful result. Not our own doing alone. We have to do our best, but Krishna will do the rest. Then do the rest. And do the best. So this is kind of the mechanism how we advance in spiritual life. If we say, your mercy is all I'm made of, because that's true. If you please Prabhupada, then he will shower his mercy. It's just a very logical thing. According his relation unto me, I reward him. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. So the transcendental mechanism is that we have to do something. It's not that we just sit there and say, but you're not sending the mercy, that's not sufficient. We have to do something, for Krishna. You have to find out what Krishna likes. Just like if you make some what is it, say, some halwa. You bring me a plate of halwa. I say, my dear Prthu does, I mean, a nice plate of halwa. It's good, but not very good, because I like, what is it, sandwich, or like, or this type of thing. So we have to find out what the person likes, first of all. Someone from the servant or whatever, and then you bring that plate, and then he knows that you understand his mind. And so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there's one verse, that one who preaches the message of my name, one who tells the secret to the devotees, he's very dear to me. No one will be more dear to me than him. And with everyone more dear. That's in Bhagavad Gita. There's no Pashati Sarvatra Saramshana Pashati Satyana Pranashani Satchana Pranashati. Is that the right verse? Yoman Pashati Sarvatra Saramshana. I think so. 77. Year 77. This happens. Unavoidable. So I got used to it. And sometimes you forget a sloka. But so we have to do something that Krishna likes. Just like, for example, there's this verse that about the Vrndavana system. Vrndavana India, that Vrndavana system is there to please the Lord. It says right in Srimad Bhagavad. And so what does it mean for us, for example? The Vrndavana system means really traditional family life of society. So in family life, everybody has to play particular roles. And when people do play these particular roles, then there will be satisfaction in family life. I know with my parents, I never ever had an argument related to this cut in stone, his position, her position. And so in the family, when that's not going on, the parents are arguing all the time and fighting, it will be, how do you say, dysfunctional family. The kids don't know who to turn to ultimately. And so they don't know how to be mothers because they don't have seen the role model in their mother. And so traditional family is a tradition. It's very important, as you know, says when the family tradition is destroyed and the whole society goes to ruin in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, read that. So important to understand Vrndavana because this is what Krishna says, pleases me. Vrndavana Vivarashas Vanushita Sadharmasya Samsidi Haripushna, it pleases me. So very important to understand that Prabhupada wanted tradition, he wanted to introduce. He came for what he called a cultural revolution to the Western world, particularly America, which is, kind of, anybody who knows a little about from America is kind of confused. I mean, even though Chaitanya said that the more you go to the West, the more people are irrational. He was not talking about Gujarat. So that people in Dwarka, which is as rest as you can get, that they're irrational. The wonderful Vaishnava who talks about the rest of the world. So he said that people have become irrational. See the problem? So the old Vedic culture is completely rational. Everything is logical, reasonable, it makes sense. And if you understand Vedic culture, you can be happy. And the kids will be well trained, and if there's no training from the parents, the kids speak up to their parents. Like in the modern Delhi, new French colony kids, constantly fighting with their parents. And the father had a heart attack, and the wife is driving them nuts. Because this is all Bollywood. Bollywood comes from Hollywood. So it travels like this, the poison of non-culture into the veins of India, which still, if you go to the villages, it's very pristine. I traveled in India, many villages, and the culture is very pristine there. I remember one time I was preaching in, what was this place? Chitakut, between Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, right in the middle of the border. Half the mountain there, where Rama was in exile, is in Uttar Pradesh, the other one in Madhya Pradesh. So there was an ashram, and I was staying there. There was an Ayurvedic treatment. And so I went into, there's some tributary of the Ganga River, so I took a sail in the river to St. Margherati. There was a group of kids playing on the other side. They were all students. They came over, it's not big, so different from here to the other side of the street. They said, how come that you're grazing, how come you're chanting Gayatri? And I said, because I'm in the Vaishnava tradition. Oh, you're a Vaishnava? I said, yes, come with us, my father is also Vaishnava. So I went there, and the father was there, sitting and chanting japa. He was a Ramanuja devotee. And so he was surprised. I sat down, and he asked me questions, and the grandfather came, grandmother came, and word spread around that there's a wild son there, and played harmonium, and it became full, the house. Then he found out I had birthday, and so women went into the kitchen, there was a celebration, and these kids drove me around in their Honda motorbike. I mean, all kids are driving in India. I was horrified, but from one place, this place of Ram, that place of Ram, this place of that. 3 weeks. had to leave. I went back to Ahmedabad, no, Allahabad. And so when I came to the railway station, there were about 120 people there. And the whole tribe was there, grandfather, grandmother, the whole thing down to the toddlers. I settled there. They just to send me off. And so then this boy, his name was Sanjay, who I met first, he put my luggage into the compartment. And I said to him, Sanjay, he said, it is amazing how we became friends in such a short time. He said, friends you can never become. He said, because friendship you can give up. You are a grandfather. In that relationship you can never give up. This is the subtlety of Indian culture. It's so subtle. I was so happy when I heard that. So subtle. Great respect for elders. For grandfather. You cannot, upset a grandfather. Great understanding of the function of an uncle in the family. Very important. Prabhupada said even a blind uncle is better than no uncle. Because he can help if there's any kind of conflict between the parents of the kids or the kids of the parents, whatever. So this really culture is actually Krishna's culture. And Krishna, when he was on the planet, he performed. He had no duties to fulfill. It says in Bhagavad Gita, but when he was in Vrndavana, he acted in the Vana of a Vaishya. When he came to later, he came to Dwarka, he acted as a Kshatriya. And he walked down in front of Yudhishthira because he was older than him. And he was embracing Arjuna, the Sakya, because he was a friend. And then he accepted Nakula and Sahadev, he accepted their bases, because everything is very orderly in the original Vedic society. Everything has its place. And so that is actually what makes Krishna happy. So, coming back to the original idea, so from Krishna to Ganga in this discussion, all the way to Lord Chaitanya, now it's spreading all over the world, and it will take some time for the Hare Krishna mantra, for the Hare Krishna movement to blossom. But the mantra is a seed to the whole thing, the Hare Krishna mantra. And so there was this American famous jazz lady, she came, jazz performer. She went to Vrndavana and she met Prabhupada in Vrndavana in 1974. And she told him, said, Swamiji, I have so many problems. This problem, that complaint. And Prabhupada said, Alice, he said, you just chant, and everything will be revealed to you by Krishna himself. And that's actually true. That we have to mainly, if you make this our main piece as a sadhana, and try to focus on chanting, thinking that I'm in the presence of Krishna. That's the best meditation. I'm now in Krishna's presence. Then the mantra will take roots in our life, and then in due course of time, we will understand everything because the blessings come from above. It's not our own endeavor alone. There was a discussion in the Sri Sampradaya in the 17th century. The sadhus are discussing how does the mercy of God manifest actually. It's like a monkey. A monkey carries his little monkey from tree to the other. But the monkey has to hold on to the mother. Or is it like a cat? The cat takes the kitten at the neck and carries the cat. The kitten doesn't have to do anything. Just carries it from place to place. So what is it? Is the mercy of God coming to us in this symbol of a cat or in the symbol of a monkey? And they decided it's a monkey, that we also have to hold on to Krishna. The monkey has to hold on to the mother to be able to jump high long distance. If he lets the mother go, he will fall. So it is kind of a cooperation between Krishna and ourselves. And it's a cooperation. And Krishna will do the rest, is the idea. So we have to make an effort in chanting Hare. And then Krishna will bless us beyond our imagination. This is how Prabhupada explained it. And this is how actually the Hare Krishna mantra can change the world. But it will take time. We cannot expect this happening from one generation to the other. Gradually. When Prabhupada was in India, Originally, he couldn't find any people in India. People were so ill-wise to listen to him. It's such a revolutionary idea. They never heard of Lord Chaitanya. Even nowadays, most Indians have not heard of Lord Chaitanya. If I sit in Bhagavad class in Vrndavana, I live in Vrndavana, and I see there's Bonitai there, Bonitai meetings, Bonitai, Krishna Balaram, there's Radha Krishna. So most people don't even know that Bonitai. Tons of people going by, we see this Bhagavad class, hundreds going, they don't even know about Chaitanya, because they don't need anything to go. Then Lord Balaram, okay, this Krishna Balaram, then they stand in front of Radha Krishna. And there are thousands of people there. And you can see, because there's no proper understanding that Krishna himself, if you would ask him anything, if you would speak to him, he said, why are you coming to me? I particularly manifested in this age as an incarnation of mercy. You should go to Lord Chaitanya. That's the idea. That's why it's beautiful that we have Lord Chaitanya here on the altar, because he is actually the address. Nityananda particularly. Nityananda is Radharani. Lord Chaitanya is more merciful. Radharani is more merciful than Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is more merciful than Radharani. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda is even more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. And Mother and Jagannatha were insulting Lord Chaitanya by throwing pots on Nityananda. He came immediately, Lord Chaitanya was evoked the Sudarshan chakra, ready to kill them. And Lord Nityananda, although was pleading so much, Lord, you didn't come for that in this age to kill the demons. Please have mercy. So he's considered the most merciful, Lord Nityananda. And so we should focus on this, get used to this idea, particularly when reading the prayers of Narottam Das Thakur. He's a Acharya in terms of understanding the greatness of Nityananda Prabhu. Hundreds of prayers. You know, he wrote, there's a whole song in this regard by Narottam Das Thakur. So we have to understand how to get that mercy. You can't jump over to Krishna himself. Just like Prabhupada said, if you want to please a big man, you have to pet his dog first. Pet his dog, then the master is happy with you. I mean, you can try this out. You walk in a housing estate, in a restaurant, somebody's dragging his dog, and you say, what a wonderful dog you have. Amazing, it's beautiful. He says, really? Yes, it becomes immediately accessible. The man becomes accessible because he pays his dog. So it is a well-known thing that by satisfying Lord Chaitanya, and particularly Nityananda, the mercy is available. And second, even stated in one verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, 9th chapter. If you read 9th chapter, verse 29-30, can you remember that? Adilila. Adilila. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilila, 9th chapter, verse 29 and 30.
Should I read it out?
Yeah.
Just read the translation. Not considering who asked for it and who did not, and who was unfit to receive it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed the fruit of devotional service.
Wait a minute. Are you sure this is Adilila 9:29?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How come?
That works with what you were saying, though.
Is it 8:29?
8:29.
No. Maybe I got that wrong. But this was also, Lord Chaitanya didn't consider it was ready or not. It was Lord Chaitanya's mercy. But yeah.
8:29 is. If one chants the exalted holy name of the Lord again and again,
Yeah.
and yet his love for the Supreme Lord does not develop, and tears do not appear in his eyes, it is evident that because of his offenses in chanting, the seed of the holy name of Krishna does not sprout.
Okay, now the next one.
But if one only chants with some slight faith the holy names of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, very quickly he is cleansed of all offences. Thus as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he feels the ecstasy of love for God.
So what he says there, that the name of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, born in Thai, they are spiritually on the same level like the name of Rama, Krishna, etc. Because they're names of God, there's no difference. And but while you chant Hare Krishna mantra, you may commit offences. If you chant the names of Nityananda and Gaunitai, for example, you cannot commit any offences. They don't accept any offences. So what he's saying, we should chant these names, then our chanting will be very easily purified, because we can't commit offences, and then we can chant Hare Krishna mantra in ecstasy. The purport is in detail explained by a purport written by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So if you have time, you go back home, or read the book and try to understand here. These verses are very important. 8, Adhikary 8:29 and 30. These are the verses. Better make a note of that in your mind at least. And so this is how we
you mentioned the first point, if you're chanting the name and it's not affecting, that means there are some offences done by us. Any light on what are these offences?
What are the offences?
Yeah, for example, unattentive chanting is one.
Yeah.
For not following the instruction of the spiritual master is one. To consider the name of Krishna equal with the names of demigods, like Victoria or Shiva or whatever. These are 10 offences mentioned in detail in our scriptures, you know. And so it's difficult to avoid them in our normal life. But if we understand the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and we follow exactly what is given in this verse, and only we cannot chant as offences. And therefore we become very easily purified to be enabled to chant Hare Krishna mantra properly. That's the gist of these two verses. So you can see the importance how the Hare Krishna mantra actually takes root. It takes some place. It takes some time to take root in our consciousness and to be able to chant without distraction. And Haridas Thakur himself, who was a Namacharya, he said that no one in the Buddhist, in Harinam Chintamani, said no one in this world is able to chant the Hare Krishna mantra without distraction. He said no one. He said, but he can chant the Hare Krishna mantra without offense if he has the mercy of Krishna to do so. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives his prayer. When you're chanting, your mind is going here and there. Chant anyway. When you're chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you think about past, present, and future. Chant anywhere. When you're chanting, you give so many examples how we become distracted by chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Then in the end said, but are you praying to Krishna to chant perfectly? He said, chant Hare Krishna anyway. So that's the important thing that we have to ask Krishna himself. Please. When we chant properly, we are done. We come very easily on the chanting platform. You see, you get it? So we should check this out. This is actually the way how we can rapidly advance in Krishna consciousness. And so now you can understand what Prabhupada said, that actually I created a good fortune. Without the mercy of Prabhupada, without the mercy of Krishna, we can struggle up to the end of the skill for advancement. Actually, by the end of the day, everything is mercy of God. There's a verse that by the mercy of God, lame men can cross over mountains, dumb men can become a great speaker, and a blind man can see the stars in the sky. By the mercy of God, everything is possible. Not by our own doing. Our own doing is important, but that's not the ultimate solution. That invokes Krishna to act, to help us in our spiritual life. So we have to do our best in our spiritual life, and then Krishna will help us to come on the highest platform. Without Krishna's mercy, it's not possible. And we just struggle for existence. All right, so my time is up. I just want to thank you so much for coming and think about it. The historicity of the Hare Krishna movement begins 5,000 years ago. And what happened? What happened 5,000 years ago? Ganga approached Krishna and said, what happened to me if you leave? And he said, don't worry, there's a plan B. Number one, the rechanting of the Hare Krishna mantra over the world. Number B, Bhagavatam we read all over the world. And then C, prasadam, everywhere freely prasadam. And then he said number four, that this chanting process will go on for 10,000 years. That's where this prediction is coming from this Purana. For 10,000 years. And then it will vanish, then there's only Kali Purana. So we are at the beginning of a very powerful movement that started actually 5,000 years ago. Krishna didn't just talk, he put it into practice by appearing in the 15th century in terms of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda to bring this chanting to everyone. And so Prabhupada, a couple of generations down, 10 generations down from Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada came to actually dismiss the Hare Krishna mantra everywhere. And we are just simple boys, we took the Hare Krishna mantra like anything. You know, I was, in that time, we had so many devotees chanting Hare Krishna. But as time goes on, it's like somebody getting old. I don't have the same strength anymore that I had 2 years ago, because it deteriorates. That's why that from time to time, when religion disappears, I appear myself to reestablish. It takes time, but we see our children, many of our children are chanting Hare Krishna tremendously, and so gradually it will take time. So Prabhupada told Mahamsa, first I went to India, everybody was a Hindu, nobody knew what I was talking about. I had no success. So I decided, we go to America. My Guru Maharaj told me. So we went to America, and the movement became huge. From there I went to India again. We had a huge Harinam card in Surat, in, what is this, Gujarat, Surat, you know. The people came out of their houses, unbelievable, something like 80 white boys and girls dancing in the street and singing Hare Krishna. It was huge. From there they went to Delhi and to different people who traveled around. And so it became very successful in India. We brought also Western money to India to build our temples initially. And then the movement now, but my point is, now India is blossoming, and Prabhupada predicted that. And he talked to this boy, Mamsa. He said, ultimately I want to go back to India. He said, it's a sleeping giant. It just takes some time. And now the youth of India is awakening, you know, in big time. And so the movement from there goes back to the West. From the West, from the East to the West, back to the East, and now here. We see this. We have so many young students all over the world, many students, MA, BA, or whatever, from this IIT or that IIT, Delhi or IIT, Kanpur, or whatever, so many. Hare Krishna, never any questions.
There's few people who's leaving comments online. There's one person in particular called Maria Perry Mohan, says Namaste from India. I remember attending Prthu's last talk at the Sunday feast in Dublin about 35 years ago.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I'm hearing is not very good.
The name is Maria Perry Mohan.
Huh?
Maria Perry Mohan. She's in India right now. So she says she's been attending Sunday feast program where you were doing lecture about 35 years ago.
He says that. Let's see. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Little kirtan and then we can go home, right? 2 minutes, 3 minutes kirtan. Come on, let's go. Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare tomorrow maybe another one.
Tomorrow, yes, starting at 6, and some more, the second part of the reflections on Bhagavad Gita, and then also more kirtan afterwards. Okay.
Hare Krishna, it was nice talking to you. God bless you all. You're at the right place. Think about what you're trying to do. It's very important.